Well, thank you, Bridgestone. We would like to take this opportunity to thank you for the opportunity to be considered to be partners with you for this global project for digital transformation. Google is thankful that we've been considered and have this opportunity to share expertise and are excited to work with you. Before we dive into the content of the presentation, we're going to do a quick round of intros and then we're going to get started. So my name is Jeff Lowe. I manage the relationship between Google and Bridgestone. I also manage the relationship between Google and some of our other counterparts around the world in the other Google offices.
Hi, my name is Tom Wazinski. I'm the Google Cloud Enterprise Sales Leader in the US Southeast. I've been at Google for over 11 years, and I'm one of the founding members of the Google Cloud team in the US Southeast. Last August, I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Atsuya, Mr. Ferrari, and others during their executive visit to Google Cloud headquarters, and I look forward to continuing the discussion with this global Bridgestone team.
Hi, my name is Brian Vinson. I'm a Google Cloud Customer Engineering Manager, so happy to be working with you all, and we have a team full of very sharp and bright engineers who will be chatting with you today.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sandeep Modvadia. I look after product management for the manufacturing and transport vertical within Google Cloud.
I'm Zach Griggs. I'm a customer engineer on the Google Cloud side, supporting Jeff and the team for any and all efforts that we're doing with Bridgestone. Thank you.
Hi, team. I'm Brian Fader. I'm a Google Cloud customer engineer. Been working with Ramesh and Dana Davis for, I believe, about over 6 weeks or so for a B2B proof of concept. Back over to you, Jeff.
Well, thanks, everybody, for these introductions. Over the next 45 to 50 minutes, you'll be hearing from our Google team. Our goal for this time is to really share the vision of what we believe can be the start of a great partnership between our organizations. The original founder of Bridgestone had the motto that they wanted to be able to serve society with superior quality. We believe that this is an opportunity for the partnership between Bridgestone and Google to accelerate that, to accelerate serving society with quality. This is the vision that we have for the partnership. We really want to achieve three things. First of all, we want to give Bridgestone the opportunity to rev up the cloud as a competitive advantage. We understand that the windows are shrinking between the time you bring a tire to market and the time that your competitors can replicate those same feature sets, those same tread wears, that same distance. We understand that there's a need to pivot to digital transformation to find new ways to drive business and additional revenue. The second thing we want to do is we want to help you to lay rubber to streamline operations. We recognize you have a global operation. We recognize that in some cases, you've done a good job. You've just replicated 5 or 6 times in different parts of the world. In working with us in our partnership, our desire is to help you to minimize those number of platforms that you have around the world and find a way to streamline them and add momentum to your business. And then the last thing we want to do is we want to help you make tracks creating new business models. We really want to partner with you as you look at digital transformation, not only from a consumer perspective, but on the commercial side as well. We have over 20 years of experience in this business, and we think we bring a depth of knowledge and expertise and real-world experiences to the table to help you accomplish that. Here's the agenda of what we plan to cover over the next couple hours. What we plan to cover over the next 45 minutes. First of all, we're going to talk about key Google differentiators. What makes us different from some of the other cloud providers you guys are considering for this project? Then we're going to spend time talking about Google and automotive. We're going to talk about the use cases that were shared with us in the RFI several weeks ago. We're going to talk about some relevant unique customer success stories. And then we're going to talk about 10x thinking, some ways that we think that are unique to Google, that are inherent in our culture, that we think can be of tremendous benefit and value to the relationship between Bridgestone and Google. And then we're going to conclude. Having shared that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Zach Griggs.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. I want to talk to the folks today at Bridgestone around what our differentiators are as a cloud platform. And I first want to start by saying Google came to market with a search engine way back when, and it took off like a rocket ship. And because that search engine was kind of natively built in the cloud, it has enabled us to start building out this very differentiated infrastructure for going on 20 years now. And that has put us in a very unique situation in the market to start opening up that infrastructure and the services that we have built to our customers to help empower you and what you're looking to accomplish as part of your digital transformation and your business use cases and initiatives that you're going after today. And so where a lot of this starts is around security. This is core to everything that we do at Google, not only for our consumer products, but also for our enterprise products like Google Cloud. And when we talk about security, we're talking about being an industry leader in security capabilities that protect your customers' applications, your users' applications, the data, and it protects users against internal and external threats. And we do this through defense in-depth posture. And when you look at all the different points here, we are enhancing security in all these areas. If you look at hardware, for example, Google does not buy commodity hardware from hardware vendors that are out there. We purpose build every piece of hardware that we put in our data centers, and we use something called a Titan chip that allows us to establish hardware root of trust every time a server comes online, as an example. We also do encryption at rest and in transit by default. It is not possible for a user to accidentally put some data in Google Cloud Platform and not have it encrypted. And there's a slew of other features, components that we're layering in to ensure that you are on top of the most secure platform that's available today. Moving on from there, I want to talk specifically about, from a global perspective, Bridgestone's global, Google's global, and we're here to support you in your global efforts. And we do that through our private global network and the various data centers and regions that we have throughout the globe. And so when you look at this, you can see where we're currently deploying data centers today and future data center regions that are coming online. And all the lines connecting those is Google's private network that we've built over the years to support our consumer applications and now supporting Google Cloud Platform for customers like Bridgestone. And we believe that the network is critical to the success of our customers, because when you look at a typical cloud provider, what you usually get is you have your service and it starts to hop all over the public internet to get to an end user, as an example. And so you have no way to confirm where your data is actually hopping throughout the public internet before it ultimately lands with an end user or internal system or anything like that. And this is where Google differentiates itself with its private network globally, where we can ensure that you are passing that data from Google Cloud to a point of presence, making that connection, and ultimately getting that data into a user's hands, or again, into some other internal system's hands. It's all about ensuring that that data is secure, both from an encryption standpoint, but also traveling across a known private network. Moving on from here, we start to talk about what we view as a differentiator in our multi-cloud capabilities. And we want to empower our customers to develop applications that can be written once and run and managed anywhere without change to that application, whether it's on-premise, on GCP, or in some other cloud. And the way that we're accomplishing this is our unique approach to a hybrid and multi-cloud environment. And some of the key differentiators here is our Anthos platform, that this allows you to deploy on existing hardware today to have a managed Kubernetes environment where you can write that application once and keep that application on-prem today, or move it into Google Cloud Platform or any other cloud of your choosing. As part of this, we also recognize that a lot of customers have legacy systems that aren't easy to get off of, and the migration off of those systems is going to take some time. But we need to enable our customers to have those systems integrate and communicate with the newer systems that they're building today. And we do that through Apogee, which is our API management platform that allows you to connect those legacy and those legacy applications to the more modern applications that you're building in your hybrid and multi-cloud environments. And all this leads to the endpoint around avoiding lock-in with open source. Google has been a huge contributor to the open source community for quite some time. We're the #1 contributor to Cloud Native Computing Foundation and the creator of Kubernetes that has been adopted both by AWS and Azure. So this is now a standard platform that folks are writing their new modern applications for. And so by enabling you with Anthos, we're giving you the power to avoid lock-in, leverage open source, and move those applications around as you see fit and whatever's best for the business need. Moving on from there, we've also been recognized as a leader in platform as a service. So we have a slew of offerings around platform as a service, and our strategy has allowed us to move to the upper right of this quadrant, being a leader, leveraging advanced tools for batch and real-time solutions and machine learning and artificial intelligence offerings. These things being baked into Google Cloud services and products that are available to our customers today. On from there, we can talk a little bit more about the advanced and embedded AI and ML capabilities. So we are taking a stance that we want to democratize artificial intelligence and machine learning through various products and services like AutoML and BigQuery ML. You'll hear about some of these later on in the presentation, but we essentially are enabling teams without data scientists on staff to leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities that are simply not offered by our other competitors in the market today. And the depth of our AI and ML offerings is pretty broad. We are baking this into all of our consumer applications, and it's starting to be baked into a lot of our cloud offerings as well. Take, for example, the global nature that is Google, that is Bridgestone. We're trying to communicate with users of all types of backgrounds and different native languages. And so leveraging cloud speech to text, we can support up to 120 languages. That is significantly more than the competition can provide today. And this is just one example of how we're bringing the power of AI and ML to our customers. And on top of this, we're also building purpose hardware chips we call TPUs to enable the faster compilation and deployment of machine learning models. And this is a huge differentiator for our customers. It's allowing them to iterate quickly and be more agile as they look to undergo that digital transformation and start to build on these newer business initiatives and newer applications that they're trying to deliver not only internally, but to the end user as well. And then moving on from there, we also want to talk about our abilities around data analytics, specifically around IoT, knowing that that's going to be a big component for Bridgestone going forward. And so when we think about this, we think about the process of ingesting the data, whether it's coming from various IoT sensors or from other data sources that are out there today, being able to process that data in a number of different ways, cleaning that data, right, refactoring that data as needed for the use case, and being able to store that data in one location so you have access to it so you can start to analyze, visualize, and predict outcomes from that data to make better business decisions. And we do that through a slew of services that we have on Google Cloud today that our customers are taking advantage of. Now, when we move to the far right and we start to go down that analyze path and what we actually do with that data, that's where our customers are starting to get into the area of building their own machine learning models specific to their business needs and use cases. And so this brings me back to our differentiator around TPUs, our tensor processing units. And so when we start to look at deep learning, when we start to look at machine learning, artificial intelligence, and building out those custom models to fit your business needs, we start to move up the stack, moving from CPUs up to GPUs and finally TPUs to really enable that speed to market with those models to be able to iterate on those on a consistent basis and deploy those not only in the cloud, but on premise, other clouds, but also on the edge as well. And you'll hear a little bit more about that in the later presentation. And so when we think about the TPU advantages that this brings to our customers. I mentioned already, we speed up the machine learning workloads. We're able to compile those more quickly. We're able to deploy those more quickly, and those models are able to execute more quickly. And this is all on demand. There is no capital expenditure where you have to procure this hardware. Anytime we make an iterative improvement on that hardware, it becomes available to you, and you can leverage that on a per second, per minute, per hour, however often and as long as you might need that hardware. And this is also an easy way to bring machine learning from the cloud to your on-premise or another cloud. All this is backed by the open source project called TensorFlow, which has become a standard for building machine learning models. And because of that, you can deploy these on top of Google Cloud, leveraging our TPUs, but then take those and put them on-premise or move them to the edge on a mobile device as an example. And then to top it all off, this is gaining you access to Google's AI innovation. Access the same accelerators that Google uses to empower machine learning in world-class Google products like Google Search, like Google Maps, like G Suite, and a slew of other products that you probably know and love. And so with that, I'm going to end my portion of this, and I'm going to hand it over to Sandeep to talk a little bit more about the automotive and transportation industry.
Thanks, Zach. Hi, everybody. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Google's heritage in automotive and transportation. This really all began around 15 years ago with the advent of Google Maps. At the time, our mission and our goal was to map the world. In the same way that we looked at indexing the web, we wanted to create a digital facsimile of the physical world. Over time, though, that mission has evolved. We don't just care about the map anymore, but we care about the function and use of the map and the journey itself. And since then, what we've been on is on a mission to power every journey. Now, that journey doesn't have to be a vehicle journey. That could be a journey where you're walking down the street. It could be a journey where you're flying to another country. Or it could be a commercial journey where goods are being transported or through logistics. And so as we think about that mission that we've been on to power every journey, we're now going one step beyond that, which is to support the customers who are powering those journeys. Now, across that life cycle, this begins in R&D and using our technology to develop self-driving vehicles or to develop intelligent supply chains. Or it comes to production and logistics, as you hear later on, how we're helping customers such as UPS deliver goods at mass scale. We work with customers to make sure that their products and their businesses are featured in maps and are easily discoverable through search. And then we have a number of initiatives that help power vehicle experiences for both drivers and passengers. As we think about the transportation industry, as I mentioned before, we don't just think about cars. We think about planes. We think about trucks. We think about customers such as Airbus as they're building their new A380, or Renault when they're building their new next passenger car. So for us, transportation isn't just a vertical that we service and support. Transportation is truly in the lifeblood of what we've done internally at Google. And part of our technology set, much as we've done in the cloud space, is about bringing our internal tools so our customers can actually use them. So let's talk a little bit more about how this actually manifests in the real world. We have three key products that you may be aware of that really are the forefront of what we do in the transportation space. Google Maps, as I mentioned before, really think about that as powering the journey itself. How do I get from A to B? How do I think about the physical asset and its space in the world? If you then think about the next circle outside of that, we go beyond a car to many cars or many vehicles. And Waze is our crowdsourced tool that helps us understand what's happening in the real world. What is the shape of traffic flow? Where are vehicles going from and to? Where are people traveling to? How long do they spend there? This crowdsourced information allows us not just to create a static view of the world, but be able to see the dynamic, ever-changing, living, breathing map of the world itself. And then finally, we think about that in-vehicle experience with Android. Today, over 2 billion people use Android to power their phones. We want to power the 100 million vehicles that ship every year using an Android automotive operating system. Today, this is mainly through the projected experience when you plug in your phone. But over time, Android will power the IVI system in the car itself. So you'll have a native Google Maps experience. One of the great opportunities this presents is that the Bridgestone experience is no longer constrained to just the phone itself, but we can have it living and breathing inside the dashboard of the car itself. So you'll have this omnipresent, omni-channel experience that can follow your customer from the home and the PC onto their phone and actually in the driving experience itself. To show you just a couple of the customers who are using Android today and our presence within the automotive industry, you can see our overall adoption here. Today, we have coverage in over 80% of vehicles with the connected experience. And then over time, the in-vehicle experience with Android Automotive will be shipping on over 50% of cars. If you want to get a sense of some of the vehicles that have the full stack offering, including Google Maps and Assistant, the new Volvo Polestar actually has the full experience where you can actually talk to the car and have the full Google service experience that you'd expect on your phone, but whilst you're driving through a safe and comfortable journey. So that's just a little glimpse into some of the ways that we're working with the automotive industry and give you a sense of how long we've been actually doing this.
Thank you so much, Sandeep, for walking through that. Before we dive into the next set, we want to talk about these Bridgestone use cases. Several weeks ago, the global VMO reached out to us and shared that there was a desire to understand what Google can bring to the table for a partnership around this digital transformation. And there are three legs of the stool that were shared with us. So the first leg was to create a new data-driven business models. The next leg was to turn cloud as a key enabler. And then last thing, we wanted to streamline our core operations. The next several minutes will be spent speaking to how we work with each one of these scenarios that Bridgestone share with us. A key thing to keep in mind as you listen and watch the presentation over the next few minutes is to understand that these key components and pieces that we are bringing to the table, in many cases, they are already built. They are already in production with other customers and can quickly be brought to bear on behalf of Bridgestone globally. Some cases in as little as 2 hours, some in a couple weeks. But our platform is already up and existing. We have assets that are already to be leveraged today. And I'm going to turn it over to Sandeep for you to find out more.
Thanks, Jeff. So let's dig into the first use case around My Speedy. I think of this as being the use case that's super centric to me as an individual, me as a consumer, me as a driver. Going through the information provided, we picked out 4 key areas that we believe Google Cloud can actually add value. The first is around predictive maintenance, the ability to take telemetry and telematics from the vehicle without the need for adding additional complex sensors and use the data to build models. One of the best ways we can do this is using Google Cloud AutoML tables. AutoML tables is a way to quickly build machine learning models that can be derived from structured data without the need for complex programming. Because we're using standardized data that comes straight from the ODB2 port, and it's data that we understand, is well formatted, is well structured and documented, we can directly feed that into AutoML and we can build models within hours. The great thing about this is it doesn't need complex development. You don't need a ton of data scientists. This really is that democratization of data and ML to allow anybody to be able to build models. So as you think about the agility that Google can bring to get you up and running quicker, AutoML tables is the first tool we would like to introduce you to so we can actually start deriving those insightful predictions from the raw data. The second is around cloud IoT and about thinking about all the assets that you have out there. If we think about the thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of vehicles that may be connected to the Bridgestone infrastructure, that presents a huge amount of data that needs to be able to manage in real time. Cloud IoT can scale to millions of concurrent connections and can happily handle exabytes of data. We use Cloud IoT type capabilities to manage the telemetry coming in from 2 billion Android devices today. And that's the same technology that we would use to build the Bridgestone telemetry platform for My Speedy. Once we have that data, though, we want to make sure that we can keep track of it and be able to derive some meaningful insights out of that and start thinking about what's the information that we can use to take action. This is where BigQuery and Looker come in. BigQuery is our enterprise-scale database that allows us to be able to support exabytes of data and be able to do quick analysis in a matter of minutes or seconds. And then Looker is a recent acquisition that allows us to do complex visualizations and create dashboards. The key thing in both of these technologies is, as powerful as they are, they're incredibly accessible. And what we want to be able to do is provide analysts the ability to create their own reports. We want people to be able to, managers to be able to create their own dashboards and to create their own visualizations. So part of the value here is really about enabling everybody in the Bridgestone business to get access to that rich and informative data coming in through cloud IoT. And then finally, as I mentioned before, we have Android OS for vehicles. And that's something that's going to be distributed on vehicles everywhere. So as you start thinking about the application that you want to build and the presence of it, we want you to think about the omnipresent application that just doesn't live on your phone or live on the web, but can live inside the vehicle itself on an Android OS. Now, a lot of this technology is actually relatively easy to deploy. And what I want to show you, as Jeff mentioned before, is some of the reference architectures that we've already created. The first one is around connected car. Now, we know there's a lot of customers out there, be they tier ones or OEMs or even aftermarket services such as insurance, who want to get telemetry out of vehicles. Where the value actually comes is what you then do with that data. But it's that raw plumbing underneath that can take an immense amount of time to get up and running. So what we've done at Google is we've taken those generics or those primitive elements of a large-scale IoT infrastructure for vehicles, and we've packaged them up in a reference architecture that can be very quickly deployed. We've tested this. We've scaled it and done throughput testing for up to 5 million concurrent vehicles, 50 by the end of this calendar year. And what we have is a well-documented and automated reference architecture that you can actually get up and running in your labs in under 2 hours. We would love to have our architects come in, deploy this, and allow you to have first hands-on experience of what we've actually built. Going one step further, this is where the ML comes in. Now, all of our ML and AI capabilities are ultimately built upon our data. But our ML and AI capabilities haven't just been deployed in the cloud. We've used it absolutely everywhere within Google, whether it's speaking to our assistants, the predictive capabilities that power Nest, or some of the smarter things that we do with text recognition and natural language in Google Mail. And it's those types of features that we want to be able to bring to you. Now, we have 2 reference architectures that we have built already. These are in production and they're being used by a number of customers. The first one is predictive maintenance. And so here what we have is a straw man architecture that will help you get up and running. Now, what we have here is a way to ingest the data on the left-hand side using cloud IoT, a way to then manage the data pipes and send it to the right places using PubSub and Dataflow. And then we bifurcate the data, one for long-term storage and then one for the real-time analytics. And then what we do is we actually run our models in real time. So we train the model, we deploy the model, and then as we run that model, we get real-time feedback to constantly improve it. So your AI is never static, it's constantly improving and gets better with the more data that you provide it. Now, predictive maintenance is one model that we run in the cloud. Visual inspection is one where we start thinking in more creative ways around the edge. Now, with visual inspection, we can either use static images or we can use a real live video stream, and we create models in much in the same way that we did with predictive maintenance. The big difference here is that once we've built that model, we don't just run it in the cloud. We can actually take that model and deploy it on the edge. Now, this could be using specialized hardware such as our edge TPUs, or this could be on commodity hardware such as an Android phone. The goal here is that we can actually run the ML models that you build in the cloud with scale and run them in a disconnected fashion at the edge. We sometimes use this in factories, but one of the use cases we think would be incredibly valuable to Bridgestone is in the Bridgestone app. So if I want to say inspect a tire, I could actually build a model that allows me to spot defects and allows me to spot, say, a hole in a tire just using my phone and run that in an offline way or run that in a disconnected way. What this means is that your AI models start to become incredibly portable and start to become far more flexible. The value that we bring in with AI really is in around 3 places. The first is around AutoML and the ability to create models at scale incredibly quickly. The second is purpose-built hardware like our TPUs that allow you to compile the models and build them even faster. And then the third is the portability of the models that allow you to be able to run them anywhere. So let's move on to the second use case, and this is around our fleets. As I mentioned before, Google Maps has been in the business of powering journeys now for over 15 years. What you may not be aware is that we have a robust set of commercial APIs that allow businesses to control those journeys and manage them as well. In two areas that I want to click on is really around how we think about fleets and how you think about the customers of fleets. So let's take a look at the first feature. The first feature are our asset tracking APIs. So if you think about the thousands of vehicles that you may have out there, you want to be able to understand where are they, how are they working, how are they functioning, how do you think about them as assets, how do you group them, how do you optimize them, how do you route them, how do you do logistics. We have a number of APIs that will allow you to understand the roads and places and the way that the vehicles behave. And customers such as Fleetmatics and Geotab are using these APIs today to manage their fleets and manage their assets. The second API is all about the journey itself. Now, if you think about a specific vehicle, you may want to know where should it be going? How should it get there? So we have the ability to use our directions APIs to tell that vehicle how it should get to its destination. But because we're crowdsourcing all of this real-time traffic information, we can also land predictive analytics here to tell you exactly when that vehicle is going to get there. This isn't just calculated based on the journey time and the travel time. This is based on real-world traffic data that's coming in to say there may be a delay and vehicles are traveling slower. What we can do is we can also take this one step further and expose that to your customers as well. So if you're thinking about a fleet and you're thinking about, say, a delivery scenario, and that end customer wants to know where their package is being delivered, or it could be a rideshare service such as Uber, and they want to know when their vehicle is going to pick them up, we can actually send that information to an endpoint as well. So we complete the spectrum of knowing where your assets are, how they're operating, and then communicating that to the end customer themselves. And we bring both of these together as a single solution with cloud and our Google Maps APIs working natively together. So now look at the third area around manufacturing optimization. The key thing here is that we understand that every manufacturer and every supply chain is different. Even though there may be common elements from the functionality, such as what that dynamic cycle looks like, every step along this chain will be different for every customer. And so we don't have an out-of-the-box solution, or we don't have a cookie-cutter approach. Here's where we look to partner deeply with customers such as yourself, truly understand how your business operates, where the pain points are, and where we can add value. And we do this through a maturity process, where we understand exactly how your infrastructure works and where you want to get to. Our maturity process goes along a 6-stage spectrum. We understand that most organizations tend to be at the connected or insightful stage, and looking for how we can use things like AI to be more predictive and how to become more, ideally more autonomous, with the end goal to strip cost out of the supply chain and the manufacturing process to drive higher levels of automation and ultimately increase quality and throughput. Now, we do this in a number of different ways. I'll give you a couple examples of what we've done with other customers. One of the areas is around SAP. Now, we understand that many customers or many vendors out there will see SAP moving to the cloud as a way to increase uptime, increase availability, and increase performance. And we feel that's just scratching the surface. Where we really want to do is get more insight and drive more action out of SAP. And so what we have is a way to natively bring our data analytics tools such as BigQuery and our AI tools to then merge that with the data that you have in SAP. So we do the standard lift and shift by moving SAP into the cloud to give you better availability. And then we add BigQuery and ML tools on top to get you the tools you need to make that data far more valuable. So SAP is probably the starting place with most of our organizations. But again, everybody's SAP implementation is slightly different. So there's no standardized way of doing this. But we understand exactly how to make SAP work in the cloud. Once we have it in the cloud, that's when we start thinking more around the analytics. Let's take a look at the next slide of some of the things that we can do. We can actually drive analytics capabilities across the supply chain. Again, there's no standard way of doing this. And so what we'd want to do is partner with you, understand what your manufacturing business looks like, figure out where the pain points are, and then start addressing some of the biggest and most tangible problems that you have. And that's where we figure out how we actually add value. To give you a sense of how we've done this in some other organizations, in some places this may be things like visual inspection. This may be spotting paint defects in vehicles. This may be spotting scratches in leather. This may be spotting dents or spotting chips in glass. All these things are models that we can create very quickly. It's maybe using our ML tools to be able to monitor the power consumption in factory, so we can actually intelligently think about how we plumb electricity into an environment and start optimizing the power consumption. Or this could be some of the more straightforward things like, I just need remote connectivity and predictive maintenance on the plant floor so I can keep the plant running with maximum efficiency. Again, this is where we would like to go deep with Bridgestone, work with you, partner with your engineering teams, partner with your production teams, and then leverage our cloud and leverage our experience working with other manufacturers to figure out what the right use cases are.
Thank you, Sandeep, for sharing those specific use cases. Hopefully, this will give you, Bridgestone, the opportunity to not only hear, but to see some of the models that we already have that are working that we've been using in customers already. We're going to shift the conversation to customer success. We want to give you some examples of places where customers have already been able to take advantage of the capabilities of Google Cloud in really good and solid, tangible ways. So the first one we talk about is UPS. During this time, there are many opportunities for us to find things to find joy in. One of the things I find joy in is when the brown truck shows up with my house with lots of goodies. UPS is a 112-year-old company. They've been in business for a long time and have been successful in terms of how they move packages. Every day, they deliver 221 million packages across 220 countries around the globe. And when we talk about the holiday season, that number spikes dramatically. The average UPS driver has 120 pickups and drop-offs each day. For him to do those pickup and drop-offs to 120 different locations could mean route combinations that have up to 199 digits associated with it. Talk about something complex. Talk about something difficult to manage. With the relationship with Google Cloud, UPS was able to save $400 million annually, as well as reduce their fuel consumption by over 10 million gallons a year. So this is a great opportunity to understand the power of analytics at a scale using Google Cloud's BigQuery to really help UPS power the most precise and comprehensive forecasting in the company's history. We think this is a great relevant use case for the value chain that you guys are looking to provide as a not only operational streamlining, but also a way to discover a new business line. We also want to talk about another customer is Geotab. Geotab is unique in that they provide data-driven insights on commercial fleets and vehicles on every continent. What's Geotab's claim to fame? It's their app where they gain insight from over 1.4 million vehicles every day. What makes the relationship between Geotab and Google so special? They can take 3 billion records in daily via BigQuery. Not only do they take those 3 billion records in 5 to 10 seconds from the time the data is collected from the sensors and the time it hits BigQuery, they can do analysis on that data. So stop and think about that. In 5 to 10 seconds from collecting it, it is ready to have contextual insights that they can make action on immediately. We recognize that in your value chain that you guys have commercial fleets, you have customers where you're providing tires, you're providing value. We think the Geotab relationship is really unique, not only from a technology perspective and how they're leveraging Google and our cloud capabilities today, but the synergies that our partnership could bring between our organizations, between Geotab, Google, and Bridgestone. The next customer we want to talk about is Airbus. This is a division of Airbus, which is really unique. It's the intelligence division. They have access to optical satellites around the globe. They're really an international pioneer in observation services. They have 1,200 customers across 100 continents. They have the ability to add millions and millions of kilometers of imagery every day. Airbus is founded by working with Google. They can have their satellite images and provide them to customers in real-time access. Google Cloud Platform helps us to do that while maintaining capacity and offering very large capacities of imagery and data. is another great use case, another customer that we're working with. And this is valuable because not only is Airbus in the aerospace industry, this division is in providing capabilities that are to the defense industry, which requires a higher level of security. So because they partner with us, they understand the depth and defense that Google brings to the table every day around security. And the last customer we want to highlight for you is Lufthansa. Why did Lufthansa choose Google Cloud? Because of our capabilities. They understand our leadership in data and analytics. They know our AI and our ML is the bomb. They know it is the best. They know it is fast. They know it is speedy. We know that it brings tremendous insights. We're a leader in cloud security. We've got a planet scale cloud solution. Early on in the presentation, we talked about our network capabilities, our own private backbone that covers the globe. We are prepared to be a global platform partner with Bridgestone in the same way that Lufthansa has done with us. Their travel products are used by millions every day. As we come to the close of our presentation here, we want to take some time to talk about Google and 10x thinking. One of the foundational cores or pillars in which Google was founded upon was to think big. And so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Tom as he brings our time together to a close. Tom?
Thanks, Jeff. Throughout the last 45 minutes, you've heard from Jeff, Zach, and Sandeep about a number of things. Google Cloud technologies, our capabilities and experience within the automotive sector, an infrastructure and data services layer to manage an Internet of Things solution like the Intelligent Tire platform, an easy-to-use machine learning artificial intelligence capability with custom-built tensor processing units, how Google Cloud can satisfy Bridgestone specific use cases, customer success stories, and finally, Google Cloud's differentiators within the public cloud marketplace. But as Jeff mentioned, what I'd like to close with is centered on a consistent theme you've heard throughout this presentation, a partnership with Google. In other words, what does it mean for Bridgestone to partner with Google Cloud? When you partner with Google Cloud, you gain the benefit of 22 years of 10x thinking from Google and Alphabet, our parent company. This includes introductions to other parts of the business where we continue our 10x thinking while reaching for the moon. Whether it's Loon, our balloon-based networking, Wing, our drone delivery service, or Makani, our kite-based electricity generator. Google Cloud has a strong record of partnering with some of the largest global businesses in the world to build cultures of innovation and agility. Zach, can you go to the next slide, please? Whether it's Ford, Audi, Renault in the automotive industry, Carrefour, Uniqlo, or Home Depot in retail, FedEx, UPS in the transportation sector, or Airbus and Lufthansa in aerospace. We have a demonstrated track record of user-first products to create new user experiences in and on the cloud. And over the last several years, we partnered with numerous companies across all industries to create industry-unique solutions. By establishing a trusted partnership with Google, many of these same customers have gained a competitive advantage. They're streamlining their operations, and they're creating new business models. In summary, they're driving both top-level revenue and bottom-line performance. On behalf of Thomas Kurian, the Google Cloud CEO, we hope this presentation met your expectations and, more importantly, sparked questions across your team. We look forward to answering these questions in the upcoming Q&A session. Thank you.